So we're going now to next presentation, number 5, and with Dina Cohen, who will be presenting on teaching teachers how to teach integral education. With over 11 years of experience in integral education, Dina has studied, taught, and worked in various fields, developing and delivering parenting courses, teaching primary school students. Her bachelor's degree in science was obtained in Hebrew University in Israel. She conducted research during her master's degree in education, Gordon College of Education in Israel. She holds a teaching certificate. In addition, she holds certificate in computer science and business management obtained in Australia. Dina is an expert in developing and delivering connection games with youth. During the COVID era, she was part of a team that developed Zoom connection games, educational content in virtual worlds, and delivering game gamification courses to children, teens, and adults on Zoom. Currently, Dina is an English teacher in primary and junior high school in Israel. And she is also working with a startup team financed by the Israel Ministry of Education, developing social content and Minecraft computer games for schools. So we presenting Katie Pirella will be interviewing Dina. Thank you.
Well, hello everyone again. As you know, I'm Kathy Pirello. I'm a retired teacher of 30 years and have worked with integral education for the past 7 years with many of these wonderful people. During this presentation, I will be interviewing Dina on the topic of teaching teachers how to teach integral education. This presentation is packed with valuable information, so get your pens and pads ready. You may send your questions through the chat as we go, and we will try to address them at the end according to our time schedule. So, hello, Dina.
Hello, Kathy. Thank you very much for presenting me, and thank you very much also for Mary for the previous presentation. It was amazing, very interesting, and I think that you will find that this presentation is a beautiful continuation for Mary's presentation. It really talks about the same information in a different perspective. So in this presentation, I will define integral education. I will discuss its main principles and provide specific classroom implementation tools. In addition, I will describe in detail 2 main methods used in integral education.
This all sounds really promising, Dina. So let's start by understanding what is integral education.
Okay, Kathy. So just before I explain what is integral education, in a few words, I want to establish why this method has evolved and why now. So as you know, our world today is increasingly interconnected and interdependent, much like a small family. Today, the production of nearly every product, from chocolate spread to computers, requires ingredients from suppliers all over the world. A crisis in any one location can have global repercussions. As globalization continues to develop, it's crucial that we educate our children to prioritize the greater good over their personal needs. This is where integral education plays a vital role.
So, Dina, what is integral education?
Thank you. So the definition of integral education is, it's a type of education that emphasizes the interconnectedness of knowledge, values, and experiences, and seeks to create a learning environment that fosters personal growth, critical thinking, creativity, and social responsibility. In this approach, this approach is often characterized by a focus on experiential learning, inquiry-based methods, and collaborative and interdisciplinary approaches to teaching and learning.
In general, Dina, what do you think makes integral education work?
Okay, so the learning group is inclusive, allowing space for individual expression and independent critical thinking. This creates a warm, mature relationship between students, fostering confidence, pleasure, and joy of learning. Such a group understands that a healthy, mutually warm, family-oriented relationship is key to solving educational or social challenges and achieving success. Integral education principles benefit both students and educators by creating an environment where everyone has a place and is valued for their unique contribution. Success is achieved through collaboration rather than individual achievement, and students are encouraged to do their best while supporting the group success and maximizing their individual potential.
So how does this compare to more traditional educational approaches?
Well, when we compare in a competitive learning environment, students may feel inferior to their more successful peers, leading to feelings of inadequacy and loss of motivation. However, if the class competes against an external factor, such as time, for instance, common success becomes personal success, and failure is not personal, leading to increased motivation and improvement for the group. In contrast, competition against each other motivates very few and discourages the rest.
How exactly do we do this? What are some of the main principles of integral education?
Yes, thank you, Kathy. There are many principles in integral education. I will go through a few. So the first one will be teach students to prioritize the common good over their personal gain by cultivating compassion towards others. This principle is implemented through various tools, including connection games, discussions, personal examples, sharing personal experiences, and role-playing. For the second principle, I would like to quote Galileo Galilei. He once said, "You cannot teach a man anything. You can only help him to find it within himself." Education, therefore, involves a student learning on their own with the support of an environment created by their parents and teachers. To facilitate this learning, educators should present various situations for the child to learn from, using tools such as reflection, discussions, personal experience, and role-playing. Educators should also be creative and leverage the child's environment, including their peers, other educators, parents, and more.
Can you, Dina, give us specifics on how to leverage the child's environment with peers, other educators, and parents?
Yes, Kathy. So I can start with the peers. For instance, I have a point system in my class. And in this point system, I have this point system to help me manage my class. I teach 5th and 6th graders. And in this point system, I don't I sometimes I do, but if I give the students points, then the points that I give them, they're not personal, and they don't get a personal prize. Rather, the points that I give them, they go into a pool of points for their whole class. And you see, when you do that, you'll see that the students, they all the time, they encourage each other to behave better, because only when the whole class reaches a certain bar, that is when they get a prize. Another way, if talking about the other educators, we can get the educators to meet and talk about what values are important for us to instill within the children. So we create a holistic approach of teaching the students. Same goes with parents. We can invite parents to parenting courses, teaching them integral education. And this way, the students are enveloped in integral education. So it's a holistic approach.
Thank you so much, Dina. What is the next principle?
Yes, so the next principle, a foundation needs to be developed within the children so they will know right from wrong and how to make good decisions in multiple situations. For this, the children should learn how to be their own psychologists. They should cultivate mental independence, ask themselves questions, develop their awareness and ability to appreciate the values of the environment. They shouldn't depend only on the opinion and judgment of the environment, especially if it is leading them astray. Some of the tools used to implement this principle are discussions, explanations, reflecting situations to the children, telling stories or showing movies followed by reflection, and role-playing. The educators can share examples of situations they experienced and how they dealt with them. They can direct the children to contemplate according to which values did they act. Did they hold themselves accountable? And they can ask questions that are aimed to develop compassion. Another principle is to reduce competition as much as possible in the classroom. And when I say competition, I mean one against the other. So instead of competitive environment, consider using a point system with prizes for class management where the whole group receives points for their performance, or each student can receive points, but their points are combined into a class pool, and the whole class receives a prize once they reach a certain goal. If necessary to grade students' work, try grading the group rather than individuals. Consider using connection games to promote cooperation and positive interactions among students. And we will discuss the connection games in more detail later. Another principle is that the children should feel that the educators are their partners and they are not against them. This is a very important principle. So treating children as partners and asking for their input on meaningful issues can help them feel valued and respected. Meeting the children at eye level, treating them with respect and fairness, and avoiding power dynamics can also help build positive relationships between educators and students. Practice transparency, share and explain your actions.
What do you mean when you say transparency?
Transparency, I can give you an example that will explain. In my class, the children were playing a nasty game against one of the kids. They had this game that when the kid touches one of them, then they transfer the touch as if they're infected, and they transfer it from one child to another. This game was terrible in my eyes, and I shared with them an experience that I had. I told the children, you know, when I was your age, exactly, when I was in the 6th grade, I did the same thing. In my class, the kids, they did this to a girl, and it went on for a week. And the first day I didn't join, I thought it was terrible. The second day I didn't join. The third day I did not join. I only joined after the fifth, maybe. I think the fifth day I joined, and it was more and more children joined and joined. It was like a huge peer pressure on me. And I was afraid that if I won't join, then they will be doing it against me as well. So when I shared this with the children, they understood, number one, that they're not doing anything super special, that this thing, even though it's terrible, other people did it before. And it helped them to understand this. And also it helped them understand what a huge impact this can be, because I remember this. I'm 53. I remember this until now. I even went to that girl and I apologized for our behavior 20 years ago. I think this helped a lot for them to stop this behavior. Other ways to help the children feel as your partners could be, if you feel anger or frustration, take a break. Respond only after the emotion has subsided. Reacting in the heat of the moment can often result in an unproductive response. Give yourself some time to calm down, take a few deep breaths, and then resume the conversation or activity with a clear mind. Another thing is, instead of directly blaming children for their misbehavior, try to address challenging situations indirectly. This can help prevent resistance and defensiveness from arising within the children, allowing them to better process and learn from the situation. Sharing personal experiences can be a powerful tool to help children relate to the situation and understand it from a different perspective. It can also help build trust and rapport between the educator and the children, as they see the educator as someone who is willing to be vulnerable and share their own experiences. By doing so, the children may also feel more comfortable opening up about their own experiences and feelings.
Dina, again, what do you mean when you say a personal experience?
Oh, okay. So Kathy, I think we covered that in the previous example when I spoke about the girl in my class.
Yes, I thought you might want to do another one, but that is fine. Thank you, dear. Thank you very much. That was very meaningful to hear, and we appreciated it.
Thank you. So people mostly learn by example. So be what you want others to be. Lead by example with love. Compliment others genuinely. Be patient and set clear boundaries with kindness.
What does that mean, Dina? Set clear boundaries with kindness.
Well, number one, we need to establish that boundaries are very important. But I'm not going to talk about that right now. But how do we bring the boundaries? And how do we do it with kindness? We want to bring it with kindness because, like I said in the beginning, we want the children to feel that the educators are their partners and not against them. So I can give you an example. When I bring the rules of the class in the beginning of the year, I don't just dictate the rules onto the children. We discuss them, we understand their necessity, and we agree to make an effort to follow them. And a good example will be listen when someone else is speaking. This is a very important value that we keep talking about again and again in a kind manner. Another thing is that the child's behavior is a reflection of their education. So if they struggle to handle a situation, it's likely due to a lack of preparation. Rather than blaming the child, educators should see undesirable behavior as a signal to address gaps in the child's education.
Dina, thank you for going through the principles and the tools used to implement integral education. Can you now give us specific methods that you found to be successful?
Sure, Kathy. I would like to emphasize two main methods that are used when teaching integral education. The first method are called roundtable discussions. So in integral educations, groups are able to solve educational or social challenges only if they first establish close and warm relationships. Therefore, the educator needs to remember that every discussion's primary goal is to create an atmosphere of equality, sharing, closeness, and connection among the participants. When a discussion is conducted in this way, it frees the children from the need to prove themselves, to stand out and be heard at the expense of others. The discussion allows them to express themselves in different ways, learn to listen to others, contribute their uniqueness to the group, and be part of the whole. During the discussion, there is no one correct answer or no one opinion that prevails, but rather a group attempt to reach a shared agreement that includes everyone's opinions. In the end, no one can attribute the outcome to themselves. Everyone feels a sense of belonging to it. From a learning perspective, this method has many advantages, such as developing the ability to express oneself and convey a message, mutual enrichment of ideas and linguistics, and providing tools for collaborative learning. So here are the main principles for conducting roundtable discussions according to integral education. Discussions are conducted in groups of 8 to 10 members. In every group, a facilitator and a secretary are appointed. The facilitator ensures that the rules of the discussion are followed and reminds everyone of the topic and the goal. The secretary documents and summarizes what was said so the group can present their conclusions to the rest of the class at the end. And here are the main rules of the discussion. A discussion is conducted using a tool of active listening sometimes called a talking stick. It
What
can
do-
be,
What do you mean actively listening?
oh, okay. Actively listening. So actively listening means that I'm not just being silent when the other person is speaking and maybe thinking at the same time what I want to say. No, that's not actively listening. Actively listening is when I'm being attentive to the person that's talking. I'm really listening and trying to understand. I try to feel what that person is trying to convey. And that is actively listening. When grown-ups are involved, when it's a round table of grown-ups, I also tell them, imagine that your child is speaking, the most important person in the world for you. That's who's speaking. Try to imagine that and then listen. So what happens is that talking stick or any other object that you can hold, it passes from one speaker to the other, and everyone actively listens to the participant holding the stick. Another rule would be every participant expresses their opinion without contradicting, rejecting, or criticizing the ideas of others. We don't have to agree with the other people's perspectives. All we do is we add our own opinion to the pool of ideas that has previously been mentioned. Each speaker, that's the last rule, each speaker should try to be concise, to give time and space for other speakers. It is desirable to reach a general shared agreement while considering the opinions of the group members. However, it is not mandatory to arrive at a conclusion that everyone agrees upon. Even the lack of agreement promotes ongoing critical thinking and dialogue. The important part is the discussion itself. It is important to end every discussion in a positive atmosphere, even if we did not reach an agreement. And this can be achieved through connection games, singing together, or shared dance, and so on.
Please, Dina, would you explain what you mean by connection games?
Okay, yes, connection games. These are my baby. I love connection games. Yeah, so connection games, they are challenging activities with goals and rules that promote interdependence and cooperation between the class members. The games are built in such a way that success is possible only if all participants contribute. The moral that is conveyed through these games is that each member who joins the game strengthens the whole team. And the social moral internalized by the participants is that the correct connection between people needs to be expressed by consideration, attentiveness, mutual concern, and full cooperation.
Wow, Dina, that all sounds amazing. Can you tell us how can this be achieved, though, through games?
I will try. So the principles of connection games. These games incorporate in them these principles. Number one, the social goal of every game is connection. Number two, success depends on cooperation between all participants and is not achieved by a single player. Number three, today in most games, the competition is either one individual against other individuals or one group against another group. In connection games, the competition will always be the whole group against an external factor, like time, previous achievements, more complex challenges, computers, etc. Number four, connection games requires everyone to temporarily give up their personal desires in favor of the common goal. To do this, we need to develop sensitivity to our friends and coordinate our actions with them. And Kathy, I would like to finish by an example of a game that I love playing with the children in my class, and it's called the hot seat. So I teach English, and I teach English to students in Israel as a second language. Whenever I start a new topic, what I do is I play with them the hot seat. I want to check what their vocabulary is on that specific topic before I start teaching it. So I put a seat in front of the class and I tell the children the rules of the game. So the rules of the game are they need to come and sit on that seat and say a word on that topic. I write down the words that they say, and the goal of the game is to say as many words possible in 2 minutes. One of the children volunteers to take time. He tells us when to start and when to stop. And then the children come and say the words. Now there's 2 rules here. Number one, if 2 students come and push each other and want to sit first, then those 2 children cannot say the word. They go back to their place and a 3rd student will come and say the word. Another rule is when I write down the words, if a word will be said twice, I delete it. So again, the goal is for the whole class to reach as many words possible in 2 minutes. And I tell the students that we're going to do the same game again after I teach them the topic. So this motivates the children to learn as much as possible so they can achieve a higher score the next time.
Dina, you said that in integral education, we try to minimize competition. Don't you think, though, that it's important that children learn that failure is part of life and that they cannot always win?
Yes, Kathy, thank you for this question. I hear it many times when I try to explain integral education. The idea of intentionally exposing children to failure as a means of building character is controversial. I believe that rather than focusing on failure itself, it is important to nurture confidence in children so they can better cope with failure when it inevitably happens. So just to finalize with connection games, I can tell you that there are different types of connection games that serve various purposes. We have icebreakers to warm up the atmosphere. We have games to enhance attention and concentration. We have games that help us instill values. We have summary and reflection games. We have discussion games and more.
Dina, as an educator, this has all been very helpful. Please, what are your final words for us?
Thank you, Kathy. So I hope you enjoyed this talk and were inspired to consider the methods necessary for educating the next generation. In a rapidly evolving world, the skills needed for children have significantly changed. Integral education is a unique approach to education that emphasizes the importance of relationship building and collaboration among students and educators. This is different from more traditional educational approaches that may prioritize individual achievement and competition over cooperation and interdependence. Integral education is designed to prepare students for the complexities of the modern world, which often requires skills such as effective communication, problem solving, and working collaboratively with others. I want to thank you, Kathy, and all the technical team supporting this presentation. And I would like to thank the audience for spending their time to come and listen.
Thank you very much, Dina and Katie. It was wonderful. So many points I just put in my notebook and gonna be using with the children also. So, and Lily, do we have questions for Dina? More questions? Yes?
Well, thank you for this amazing and informative teaching. Actually, it was lovely, lovely to listen and learn more and more, and we are curious. Of course, there are questions. There are 5 questions as I see. Maybe we will not have time for all, but let me begin. Okay. The first question: has the role of the teacher changed, and in what way?
Yes, thank you. Thank you. Yes, the role of the teacher has changed. And I touched upon this a little bit. The teacher is becoming more and more a facilitator rather than a teacher. So in integral education, we strive to get the information out from the children. Once the children are able to learn in this way, so they come up with the answers by the questions that we guide them. We guide them with questions and they give the information and then they own it. So once they say it, they own it, and it's not like dictating to them information. They own it and they keep it and they understand it much better.
Okay, thank you. The second question, you talked about reflection. What exactly did you mean by reflection?
Yes, reflection is an amazing tool that integral education uses a lot. It can be after games, it can be after discussions, after a movie, a story, after many things. So in reflection, what happens actually is the brain processes what the heart feels. So if you can play a game, you can feel very excited, you can feel frustrated, you can feel many things. And when in the reflection, we're asked, what did you feel? What did you think? What could help you improve? All these questions, they actually help process your feelings. And again, that will keep that in this way, you will own it better. You'll understand yourself and your peers much better.
Well, another question. How can integral education help address social and environmental issues in our world today?
Okay, so integral education, it doesn't address those issues directly, but it will help solve many problems because of the way that people discuss things. So in integral education, the discussion, you actually come up with an answer that is, it's built from the point of view of many, many people together. And always when the point of view of many people, like a puzzle, each person brings their own point of view, and then like a puzzle, they create the correct answer. And it's always more correct than just one person's answer.
Okay, and if you don't mind, another one, please. Is there a benefit of modeling this method for the group prior to active participation? If so, how could this be done?
Maybe you can ask it in a different way so I can understand. I'm sorry. Or maybe repeat.
Okay, I will repeat. Is there a benefit of modeling this method for the group prior to active participation? If so, how could this be done?
So if you mean modeling as in when the educators, they get together and they decide on what they want to teach. And if I do it by myself, it's impossible. I won't be able to teach integral education if I create the content by myself. The content needs to be created in connection in order for it to bring connection. And this is very interesting. People that just hear this and have not been exposed to integral education, it's hard for them to understand. I know this because I was the same. I was always not cooperating with other people. I know the answers better. I used to work on my own and I did everything on my own. And this is before I learned about integral education. After going through courses of integral education, I learned how much that was a mistake. And ever since today, I cannot create content on my own. The content that I create on my own is terrible if I compare it to the content that I create with other people together. It's just, it's magic. It's just magic.
Thank you very much, Dina. You know what? Actually, presentation when you did with Katie, it was absolutely different. It's even felt different. So when you together was presenting, it's just different. I guess it was integral presentation.
Yes, yes, yes.
Thank
And
you.
even this one is not easy for me because I don't like lecturing. I like when I ask the questions and everybody participates, then everybody feels good. That's the best. But at least I had Kathy with me, and this was integral. Thank you very much, everybody.
Thank you very much. That was really insightful. Thank you. Do we have